This film records the purchase of my new sailboat. It is a JPK 39 fast cruiser. It is built by the shipyard JPK Composites. In a short first season, we tested the boat, practiced docking, and enjoyed the Lorient department in France, a portion of Brittany. Maybe 2 steps backwards before we dive into the film. We used to own a 44-foot catamaran named Two Fish. We sailed her from Argentina to Maine, to the Caribbean, across the Pacific to Australia. We lived aboard for almost 5 years.
Make it 13, 14. There we go, we're moving again. Shit, really?
After the boat was sold, I became lonely for the sea. I crewed on my friend's new Baltic 67 from Finland to Malta, and helped another friend with a few passages on his HH catamaran. Both amazing boats, but crewing was not enough, and I began looking for a boat I could solo sail longer distances. The selection process is a film in its own right, but what I wanted was a boat that could sail well in light air, as too many cruising boats motor when the wind is under 13 knots. Also, I wanted a boat where I could look forward when at the navigation station, since a solo sailor cannot be on deck all the time. Finally, I wanted a boat whose keel can rise to accommodate shallow anchorages. Almost all my choices are built on the French Atlantic coast. I looked at the Pogo, the RM, and the Bente. In the end, the JPK seemed to fit my needs the best. A month before taking delivery of Cyclops, I chartered another JPK 39 from Ulysses Sailing in Greece. It was a great week because Dimitri, the owner, is a fantastic host and the weather delivered. My goal was to learn the boat from a professional sailor. What I got was a clinic in heavy air sailing. The Matemi was blowing hard, 30, 40, and 50 knots. To avoid the high winds, the charter boats headed west of Athens. We sailed east towards the strong winds. No autopilot, no spray hood. We were sailing Dimitri style. We had our share of broaches. The twin rudder boat warns the skipper of the impending rudder stall. Finally, when the rudder loses grip, the boat gently heads into the wind. Gentle broaches in force 8 winds is a valuable safety feature. I learned to sense the upcoming broach and preventively pull the rudder hard to windward. This short, hard turn gets the boat pointed down and the rudder working again. Broach avoided. Sensing a rudder stall is easy with tiller steering. Dimitri is an enthusiastic sailor, so I got to experience the boat with more canvas than I would fly. The windy sailing experience is valuable for my future plans. We were sailing for a while at 35 degrees of heel, and I figured out a series of handholds to move about the boat for sail trim or checking the sole chart plotter. In the warm Aegean waters, I enjoyed the water coming down the deck. One day we encountered winds over 50 knots. When we arrived at the next port, the other sailors greeted us like heroes. The other sailors had wisely decided to stay put that day. Our maiden sail is from Port Carnival to Ile-de-Groix. The greater Lorient waterways have few marinas, of which Port Carnival is largest. It is also the closest to the JPK factory. We will navigate the many shoals and rocks for a short light air trip. We will leave the ancient fort of Port Louis to port, and then pass the nice beaches of L'Amour Plage. Finally, we will traverse the west exit. We chose the timing to arrive close to slack water. Tides and currents are front of mind in Brittany. To better understand where we are sailing, I have zoomed out on the map. The first island is Ile-de-Groix. Further zooming out shows that Lorient is west of Brest, and Brittany is in the upper left-hand corner of France, just south of the English Channel. We left with a tide strongly pushing us onto our neighbor. Gale tried to hold the stern up current by slowly releasing the stern line while I powered forward. This did not work well, and we had a close call. Next time, my last line will be a mid-spring, and I will use more power. The wind was under 3 knots, but I practiced a mainsail hoist. Much was learned. Keep clear of the lazy jacks. Docking a new boat is tough. To add to the fun, the port captain conversations are in French. During the attempt, I get confused between in front of the large fishing boat and after the fishing boat. Free French lessons today. Je parle avec les habitants en français. Bienvenue à la porte de Île de Groix. C'est porte Tudi. Aquaculture in action. That are making unlimited supply of cookies Saint-Jacques. Aquaculture is done for the day. Time to dock. When I sail in different parts of the world, I enjoy watching boat types that are unique to the region. This fishing boat has a stern drive that rotates like a tiller on a sunfish. I saw a bunch of these stern drives in Brittany, but never have seen one in the US. Is it unique, or am I uninformed? Time to use the search engine. The boat's fresh catch getting washed and headed off to market.
I'm making a lanyard.
What is a lanyard for those of us landlubbers that are unaware of such terminology?
Well, actually, it's very similar to what people make bracelets. It's the same stitch, I believe.
You did this when you're 8 years old or whatever in camp?
So, at summer rec.
Going to check on the lanyards. First we have to pass the mousquetar, which is the mosquito netting. There aren't many mosquitoes around this time of year, but plenty of flies and other things. And now we're on deck. And look at these Go Fast lanyards. Yes, no other JPK has one.
A father and son team delivered a boatload of gravel. Yes, literally a boatload of gravel to the island. Father corrected his son on his unloading, docking, and boat steering. From my perspective, the son had a whole hell of a lot of docking game. We explored the island by foot and later by bike. The bike ride became rather intense at times due to a steep path with loose gravel. I made it a personal goal to never dismount. The island has plenty of tourism, but also some farming. We enjoyed many a fish roulette, which is a French version of white fish salad. Sorry, New York, the French version is better. The rugged coastline had some surprisingly beautiful beaches, which the hardier tourists were enjoying. This post office really grabbed my eye. What a gorgeous art installation. And it would be nice to show you behind the navigation station wall. A couple secrets back here. Some of the beauty of the boat goes away when you get to see the... Let's go look in. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to turn on the radio without using the fancy digital switches. And one of the criticisms people always have of digital switching is that if that fancy electronic box stops working, how am I going to turn something on? Well, we're going to turn the stereo on without any fancy screen. So here's the stereo up here, rock on, and it just so happens that number 5, the 5th fuse, you can see it, got spin and spun around, says hi-fi. So all we have to do is find the 5th fuse, which over here, right here, and we take it out of its position, which takes a bit of effort. It's not that easy. And we move it up 1 slot. You can just see there's 3 sets of pins in there, and you just use the upper 2. And that's doesn't really require a huge amount of engineering ability.
and we spin on over, and the fusion now has turned on. And so clearly you don't have an emergency case of wanting rock and roll, but you may have an emergency case where you want to turn on a chart plotter, a set of navigation lights, who knows what, and you now have the ability to turn it on, and now, as you see, off. Whew.
This boat is coming to raft up to Cyclops. This is very common in French marinas. Make sure to keep the spreaders apart and have 2 spring lines. In French, spring lines are called gardes, and the spreaders are called barres de flèche. The plan for leaving the marina is to rig a line from the bow to a dock cleat 6 feet aft. I will then put the boat in forward gear, and the line will arrest the boat's progress. Instead of going forward, the tip of the boat will come closer to the dock. At the same time, the stern of the boat swings far away from the dock. If there had been any raft of boats on either side of us, we could use this technique for an easy departure.
You can make it a rover or whatever, but we're just going to see how far I can take out the stern. Okay. Going to neutral, release please.
Release. Hooked. 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 I gotta jump off. Okay.
Murphy's Law kicked in. Gale jumps into action to free the slip line
We're off.
from the jammed dock cleat. This is the flaw with lines led to a cleat and back to the boat. She hops off the boat while I hold position and crisis averted. A new challenge has arrived, a boat exiting at the same time. The other captain thinks he's driving his Peugeot around the Arc de Triomphe. He has to pass us. We were returning to Carnival to get a few glitches fixed on the boat, and then off to explore the Gulf of Morbihan.